Welcome to the City Scout Podcast, Episode 1, Season 2. I am your co-host, Melody Stone.
I am the other co-host, Anthony Van Hook.
That's what makes them co. There's two of us. And for the past year, we, Anthony and I, have produced our own podcast under the name Hooks and Stone. You can find us in iTunes to hear all of our previous episodes. But this season, we're really excited to partner with City Scout and join their team for this new season of the City Scout podcast. So, Felix, I am so glad that you asked us to join your team and that we are doing this. Would you like to talk a little bit about what you're hoping to see in this next season?
Yeah, we're definitely excited to be able to make this partnership. So basically what we wanted to do is season 1 was really exciting for us because it was kind of our first take at trying to make a podcast, and basically what we want to do is we want to continue to focus on the Sacramento culture and really like all the cool things that are happening. The idea is to continue to just have really cool people that are doing really cool things in Sacramento. And we wanted to bring you guys on because we really enjoyed what you guys were doing with your podcast and keeping the same chemistry. We want to get weird with it too, right? So
yeah. Well, and it's great because you guys spent last season bringing in cool people, and we spent our run of doing Hooks and Stone bringing in cool people. So it's kind of, instead of duplicating efforts, we're combining our efforts. You guys have a lot of really awesome people on staff that can help with video and editing, and we're really excited to have that extra help. But we're really excited to join this team because I think there's a huge potential for really growing this podcast and what you guys are doing, and kind of bringing in some of what we've been doing, and it's going to be good. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of compelling interviews with interesting people covering the topics in our region that we hope are relevant to you, the listener. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of City Scout Podcast hosted by Hooks and Stone. Today on the City Scout Podcast, hosted by Hooks and Stone, we're taking a look at the impact the game is having on the local economy and the business it's creating. We'll hear from Old Sacramento Business District Director Brooksy Hughes about how the game has completely transformed that neighborhood. We'll talk with Sac Social Club co-founder Eric Schaefer and co-founders Eric Schaefer and Joe Gutierrez about their massive Pokemon pub crawl that they planned. And then we'll also speak with Aaron Watkins, a local entrepreneur who almost immediately developed a support app for Pokémon GO. Brooksy, you're joining us here from Old Sacramento, where you live and work, to talk to us about the impact that Pokémon GO has had on that district. Would you like to describe, as best you can, what has happened in that district in the last 3 weeks?
Well, with the activation of Pokemon Go, we have seen such an uptick of people coming in. Obviously, they're exploring the district. But the changes that I see mostly is that our evening crowds, because where Old Sacramento has maybe been seen as maybe not the most ideal place to hang out at 10 o'clock at night, we're getting from 6 p.m. till midnight about 50% of our foot traffic. Or it's accounting for about 50% of our foot traffic. And people are exploring all over dark alleys, their boardwalks, standing on the waterfront, coming across state parks, and they're just like happy and safe and having a good time. It's really been great. And before it got hot, we had that during the day, but the last week, the heat's kind of died the daytime stuff down.
Yeah, it's hard to hunt for Pokemon
when you're
in
sweating
110 degrees.
Off, yeah.
And what has this done for the businesses in Old Sacramento?
Well, from a business perspective, we started after about the third day going around and noticing that the people that were coming were actually being patrons. They weren't just roaming the streets. And so we started tracking with certain businesses who were saying they were up 50%. By the end of the week, we had a handful of food service. Merchandising is a little bit different, but food service, quite a few of them are up 300%.
Wow.
They were extended their hours. Where they closed at 10, they're now closing at 1. We had a couple of nights where they closed at like 2:30, 3, like eventually they had to go home. But that kind of activity, especially from 10 p.m. to midnight, still is pretty consistent, almost 7 nights a week. And then other merchants that are more of your vendors that have T-shirts or or goods, even in African collectibles, their businesses are also up. Some of them engaged in certain ways, like having a charging station, and some actually contacted the manufacturers and got branded material. So legally, they're selling Pokemon merchandise, which they're selling out of extremely quick. So we had a T-shirt store stay open until midnight, 4 nights in a row, and they usually close at 6. So that's pretty extraordinary to see that happening.
Now, your background is in placemaking. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's part of it. My background, I've been producing public events and special events for over 20 years, almost 25 years now. And the placemaking aspect of that, or public space strategy, is what we called it before that other word came out. I've been doing for about 16 or 17 years.
And have you ever seen an activation this organic and this rapid? I mean, that district changed overnight and with little warning to you and the other people in the district.
Yeah, that's what's so amazing is this sort of organically happened, even though the gaming industry knew this was coming. They did not do it 7 months till the iPhone comes out. There wasn't this big buildup and hype. So all of a sudden it's here and you don't know what it is. And you really need to engage in it within a few days to figure out how do you manage this. And so I've never seen anything do this. I mean, we had flash mobs that came out in 2003, and so that created activation in spaces, but it came in, there was this hype, they left a footprint of people that stayed around for a few hours, but then they left and it moved. This isn't going away. This is day in and day out, a continuous flow of an activation that's viral, and I have not seen anything do this across the country,
Do you think that this could lead to more businesses maybe heading towards downtown in Old Sacramento and kind of expanding in that way?
Well, I think it could in a lot of ways. One of the things for us is it will be able to encourage businesses to stay open later. With the arena that's about to open, this is an outstanding case study to show that urban activation is positive and that it is safe to be there so that they can plan when they come out of the arena to then still stay in the district. As far as businesses coming down, I think it's too soon. You have a lot of people in that industry, certain generational questions that they don't know if it'll last. So there is no way right now to say, will this be here in 8 months? Isn't it worth bringing my business down? But will it change the mental image of Old Sacramento, particularly for nighttime activity? Absolutely. That can stick.
That's wonderful. One of the things I think is so interesting about the game is it does encourage people to really explore their home and the places where they go. And I think one of the reasons that Old Sac is so good for the game is because there's a ton of historical markers, and that's all in-game, real time points of interest. Have you heard of players like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was here, or have you heard of players discovering Old Sacramento for the first time?
Oh, absolutely. And many of them are locals. We have heard, because since I am living there, I'm sort of out roaming around myself and playing the game, so I understand it and enjoy it too. It's kind of fun. But you overhear, and I have overheard locals say, I haven't been down here in years and I forgot how cool Old Sacramento was. Or they have discovered a restaurant that they did not know was there. They would not have gone there to eat, and they have said, we'll come back to this restaurant, because some of the finer dining ones are closing. It's maybe not their draw, although I encourage them to change their mindset on that. But others that just did not, they just walked past it. But now it's open and the lights are on, and so definitely discovering their new backyards, if you will.
Have you noticed any drawbacks or any maybe public safety concerns surrounding this many people? I mean, how many people, let's start by, how many people are you seeing average at night?
About 3,500.
Wow.
Yes. Between 9 and midnight. We have pedestrian counters out, so we have a pretty accurate count along Front Street and the waterfront. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that there's some people going back and forth. So let's cut that number in half. Even if you said 1,600 people, that's still a significant amount of people roaming around between 9 and midnight.
So it does bring up some public safety concerns.
It absolutely does. Now, we have not had any incidences in Old Sacramento, so I'm really proud to say that. I think one night we had some people come out of a bar that were sort of making fun of the gamers, and so there was a little argument, but that was like in the second or third night. Since then, we have seen nothing. It's been a very peaceful crowd, a happy crowd, And I keep referring to it as a really peaceful activation. And we just need to up our game and get the businesses open longer because we are there. There is stuff to do. So
Thank you so much.
thank you.
So we are here with Eric Schaefer and Joe Gutierrez of Sacramento Social Club. And you guys have jumped on the Pokemon bandwagon with full force of all your jumping capability and put together one of the biggest meetups, a pub crawl, which took place last weekend. So would you like to tell us how it went?
Yes, it was a big success. A lot of people showed up throughout the day. We started at 3 p.m., went all throughout the night. Every stop along the way had drink specials. Everyone had a good time. Everyone we spoke to, they really enjoyed it. It was a really big success.
About how many people showed up?
I'd say a good, at least about 800 to 1,000 people showed up, actually.
That's
Wow.
a lot of people.
Oh, so
And what were the... Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'm just wanting to know the real dirt. What were the rarest Pokemon that were found?
Well, I personally didn't have as much time catching Pokemon as I would like because we were trying to coordinate, get people from one place to the next at the right time.
That's the
But
problem with hosting these things.
that's true, yeah. But we did catch a Raichu. Some people
Whoa.
did.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I got a Raichu.
Yeah, and Charmeleon as well, too.
So,
Whoa.
listeners that are maybe not familiar, a Raichu is the evolved version of Pikachu.
Pretty
And
rare in the game.
Very rare. If I can catch 2 more Pikachus, I can evolve in a Raichu.
Wow.
But I haven't seen a Pikachu in over a week, so
The Pikachus are hard to find.
they're
We
hard
just
to
caught 2 at our apartment right before we came.
find. Shut up.
We're gonna go hang
Shut
out at your
up.
house.
Yeah, this interview's over. And then a Charmeleon is the evolved version of a Charmander,
Yes.
which eventually evolves into a
Charizard,
which
which
is
is-
the most powerful Pokemon in the game.
In my opinion, I don't know if that's fact.
Or it's just the coolest.
It's the coolest. Yeah.
Definitely
yeah.
the coolest.
Yes. So you guys are roommates, and you founded Sac Social Club. Is that the accurate?
Yes,
Accurate to say.
correct. Yeah, we along with our other roommate, the 3 of us, we pretty much founded it about a year ago or so. We've done pub crawls in the past. We've done one around St. Patrick's Day that we've done every year, but never more than 50 or 100 people. So when we created this event, it was intended for those 50 to 100 people, and then overnight it just blew up 500 people. And
Yeah.
from there, we just kept riding the momentum, getting all these bars on board, and it became an actual big thing.
Yeah, we were pretty much training on the job.
Yeah, I see.
We were learning on the fly. It
So
turned out.
how did you guys choose the bars? Because there had to be some competition. A lot of bars probably wanted to be in on this, seeing all the business that was coming their way.
You know, when we first started out, we were actually contacting a lot of the bars. We had a route in our mind, and we were just trying to get from point A to point B, and we were hitting all the bars in between. Towards the end of the actual event date, that's when we got a lot of bars reaching out to us.
I see.
So when we were planning our next event, which is going to happen on August 27th, we already have bars that are hitting us up for spots. So they're doing our job for us. It's pretty nice.
Was there any concern when you saw it blow up? Like, okay, we know how to deal with 50 people. How do we deal with 1,000? What was going through your head when you were watching those RSVPs just?
Yeah, we were very concerned at first. We just wanted to make sure we did everything that we possibly could legally. And so we went to the city council meeting, got support from city council. On top of that, we explored different options. We didn't need a permit since we weren't going to be at one single location. We were moving from place to place. So Sac PD, the police department, they emailed us telling us they're aware of the event. Everyone knew about it. Everyone was on board, and they really liked the economic benefit it brought to the city.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. What were some of the logistical problems of getting people from point A to point B? Like, how did you herd all of those Pokemon trainers?
You know, we did it with pretty much duct tape and prayer. we corralled everyone with mega horns that we bought on Amazon, and we really just did it by the seat of our pants, and it worked out great. And now that we have this experience, we're excited for future events.
Where'd the idea for a Pokemon pub crawl come from?
Came from me. I was texting a group of our friends at work. It was the day after the game came out, and I just thought of an idea. I was like, oh, Pokemon pub crawl. Because it hits with our age group. Everyone over 21 I know is playing the game. and we figured it'd be a great way to showcase Sacramento.
And then also everybody's walking around playing the game anyway. A pub crawl just seems to be the perfect way to experience that.
Right. A little bit of alcohol will
Yeah.
fuel everything.
Add some alcohol to anything, and it's going to be a little bit better.
Exactly.
What do you guys think of the game itself? Like, you guys are both playing it. What do you like about it?
I just like how I mean, if you played it growing up, you know, the old-fashioned Game Boy games, watched the TV show, you always wanted to be able to catch them in real life, and this game allows you to do that in a way. So that's what attracted people to it, is that, and just the fact that all these businesses have Pokestops along the way. They were even on board, but I just like how you go out and you can just catch them anywhere. It's not like you're stuck in one spot just playing it.
Right, and the social aspect, going out meeting new people. Every time I'd go outside, we have a stop right by our apartment. I'd meet a good, 10, 20 strangers playing the game, and everybody's having a really good time. So, the social aspect, and also getting people out of the house. It's very nice to get out of the house.
Did you guys consider yourself gamers before Pokemon Go?
Me, definitely, yeah. I enjoy playing video games. I have an Xbox and all that. Joe, not so much. He's not so much like that, but this game brings all gamers, all people, even if you never played a video game, they all want to play it. Everyone's on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story, and we look forward to the next pub crawl, which is, remind us of the date.
The next pub crawl is going to be on August 27th. We're working on getting the route ready right now, so more information will be on Sac Social Club, Facebook/Sac Social Club.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The rise of Pokemon Go has attracted millions of players all over the world and spawned a lot of new ideas in the business realm. One of those idea havers is Aaron Watkins. Hello, Aaron. Hi.
Hello, Melanie. How are you?
Thanks for coming in. And you have developed a Pokemon Go support app called PokeNet.
Yes, we have. In
And
fact, it took us about a week, which is super fast in the app space. And but the app space is one of those places where there's absolutely first mover advantage. So we wanted to get it out there as quickly as possible. And, luckily we have a development platform that we work with that allows us to kind of use some templates and things to turn something around really fast. And then now we've just been kind of adding features as we go.
And give me the pitch. Why should I download this app? Why should I use it?
So PokeNet is essentially a toolbox for anyone who plays Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go, yes. Go!
It's the soccer version.
You roll it into a ball, you kick the Pokeball at someone.
You run around and try and find soccer players in the real world. It's a lot easier in Europe.
It's getting better in Sacramento, though.
That is true.
So we have a ton of different features, and we keep adding new ones. Everything from a social wall, which actually allows people to post memes and talk to each other. Hopefully when trading happens, it'll be a place where people can kind of raise their hand and say, hey, I need a Charmander.
Negotiate trades.
Right,
and,
exactly.
yeah.
We have a feature called Pokevision, which allows you, so, we're in Midtown right now. I could tell you exactly what's spawning in Old Sacramento and how long it's going to be there. And that actually gets pulled directly from the Niantic servers.
Wow.
We have everything from a battle strengths and weaknesses, so I can tell you if you're going up against a gym and certain Pokemon are there, what of your Pokemon should you use to attack that gym so that you have the best chance of winning. So
Well, let's take it back a little bit. 'Cause
Sure.
I'm sure not all of our listeners are fully familiar with the game, even if they haven't all played it. Basically, Pokemon are virtual monsters. That spawn in the real world, and you can see them through your phone.
Yes. So it's a version of augmented reality where you're basically using your phone as a view into the game.
So fun.
It is fun, yes.
And so part of the game is you have to try to find these Pokemon. They spawn in different places. There's a lot of water Pokemon in Old Sacramento. There's lots of rats and birds everywhere.
Well, a lot of the Pokemon, they're designed to show up in their natural habitat. So you will find, which is weird to say for a virtual thing,
a dragon monster.
right? But you will find, fire Pokemon tend to hang out near fire departments. You'll
I
find
found
water.
a few at gas stations.
Yep, at
That's
gas
actually
stations.
a terrible idea. You should not have fire Pokemon near
I
gas
didn't
Not
put them
bring
there.
a Charmander to Chevron.
It's an explosive situation.
He was hungry. What was he?
But you'll see,
He's actually
you know,
with
the
the
water
AMPM.
ones will show up in Old Sac because they're by the river, and yeah. So
Now, but that does bring up the question of where do you find Jinx, which is like a psychic Nicki Minaj style Pokemon.
Minaj style.
well, if you were psychic, you'd know.
I'm
Oh.
not. And that's the problem.
So one of the other things that we have on here are some maps that help you out. So you can actually look for a nest. So a nest is a place where a certain type of rare Pokemon tends to spawn frequently. And so the nest will actually guide you to where certain types are. But there are some Pokemon who are only available even in certain countries. So I can't remember all the names, but like
Mr. Mime
Mr.
is
Mime
only
is Europe,
available
right?
in Europe.
there's the kangaroo
Kangaskhan,
one is, yeah.
He's only available
Genghis
in Australia.
Khan.
Genghis Khan is
Yes.
only available.
Kangaskhan's a country, right?
Yeah. And there's a different Pokemon. And the Asian one is the Farfetch'd.
Yes.
The
Oh, I
duck-
did not know that.
A duck type
That-
Pokemon.
I learned that one just now.
Yeah. And then when you battle, just so our listeners will get caught up and why the battle strength feature
Matters.
is helpful, you go to a gym, which is also based in the real world somewhere. It's like you'll see it on your phone map. And you go.
Big stick in the ground.
Yeah, and you can go and you click on, and this all sounds very weird, but then the app is free, so you could go download it and you'd figure
I'm
it
sure
out.
most
in
of
2
them have
seconds.
played it already.
And
You
Pokénet
would
is
be
free also.
surprised.
So
You would be surprised. And a lot of people are very resistant to this. They don't want to become zombies. They don't want to get addicted. But I tell you what, it's pretty easy to not get addicted to something that makes you work out.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to the game is that if you think about most mobile games, a lot of them are what we call time blocked. And so something like a Farmville where you set something in motion and then it's like, well, in an hour or two, you can come back and do it again. Pokemon Go is distance blocked.
Yeah.
And so instead of waiting for time, you have to go for a walk. You have to actually travel a certain amount of kilometers, and hey, everyone's learning kilometers now, before an egg will hatch or other things that will happen that are good for you. So if you're looking for something, you can't just hang out at your house. You actually have to go out into the real world, and they block it so that you can't, say, drive around, because if you're traveling over 11 miles an hour, I don't know how I know that, but if you're traveling over 11 miles an hour, your distance no longer counts.
Yeah. So you have to. Biking is actually pretty cool. You just bike slowly.
Get a
Just
little
like-
speedometer.
I actually feel like skateboarding we might see a jump in skateboarding popularity.
I
I've
live
actu-
near a park, and I have seen skateboarders. I have seen families walking around
Those little
playing. I've seen.
wheelie shoes.
Wheelie
I haven't
shoes.
seen any wheelie shoes yet.
That's a
but
good idea.
it's a little, the hoverboard.
That's what we should get into is selling wheelie shoes on the
So
streets of
that people
Sacramento.
can hatch their eggs in Pokemon Go.
Kind of surprised there haven't been more like random just vendors with like backpacks with chargers in them and things. And all that. But
Seriously, or even just water.
Actually, I saw 2 little kids selling water to Pokemon Go players on the street one day. It was,
nice.
Yeah.
Cute.
So about how many users is Pokénet getting? on
We've got about
average?
10,000 right now.
Wow.
Well, we've got 10,000 downloads. A download isn't necessarily a user,
Um,
but I'd like to think.
I'd count it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it's a lot of the information on there. Is it crowdsourced from the?
it is.
Okay.
So some of the tools on here are actually web tools that were built by other people. So like the Pokevision is something that someone built online. We took a mobile version of it and put it into the application in such a way that the company that built it is still getting advertising revenue. So
Right.
we're not like stealing
Just
their
stealing
stuff
their
and-
technology.
So long, thanks.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other information, like where a nest is or something, people can email in and
Right.
we'll add that to the list. But we found a database of like 400 Pokemon nests around the world and quickly imported that in. So it gave us kind of a base to start from.
Nice.
But yeah, a lot of it's just research and, you know, every day we learn something new. So the next set of tools that we're coming across is something called an IV calculator. So IV is the individual value of a Pokemon, and it's what differentiates 2 of the exact same Pokemon from each other. So some Pokemon actually have the ability to be stronger than other of its same type, and I don't want to go into the whole IV thing because it's a lot of math and it's complicated, but there's a way to figure out which of your Pokemon you should evolve and which of them you should feed to the guy for candy.
Professor
really
Willow.
Disturbing.
It is kind of
I actually
disturbing.
saw an animation the other day of what happens once you give
I saw
Professor
that
Willow.
too.
That was not real. That's not been
I
verified.
feel like that's
not-
probably
not-
pretty
not
accurate.
been verified, no.
Professor Willow is a monster.
There's a blender in there somewhere.
It has not been verified. None of that. You cannot go on the record saying that.
You start with an animal, you end up with a candy. Something bad happens.
Something bad happened.
I will say the ethics of Pokemon are incredibly murky. You are capturing these creatures and then
Forcing them to
forcefully-
fight for you.
Forcing them to fight for you, keeping them in very small spaces, and then forcefully evolving them.
You're not forcing them. They want to do this for you.
Do they?
You've had a conversation with a few.
I had a conversation with the Pikachu.
They only said their name though. So yeah, I mean, where do you fall in this ethical debate?
Well, I think that until they hold a little protest or a rally, I think we're good.
Until they get a union.
Right, until they unionize.
You do know that PETA outside their offices put up a sign that said that they're a Pokemon-free zone.
So would it be-
They want to free all the Pokemon.
Would it be PIPA for
People.
the ethical
People-
treatment of Pokemon?
Pokemon, yeah.
I think one of the interesting things is more the ethics of the people playing. So I know there's been a lot of neighborhoods where there happens to be, nests of very rare Pokemon, and people find this out, and suddenly becomes a very popular neighborhood for foot traffic and
Very slow driving traffic.
very slow 11 mile an hour driving traffic. There's also, the stories now of people who have been, driving while playing and how dangerous that can be, and we absolutely don't recommend that.
Even with all the negatives of people driving while playing and maybe just kind of loitering in places, the people playing always tend to be helpful, nice people.
They do. I've actually seen there's a Pokemon Go dating thing going around.
Is there? I've not seen that.
I
That's
can
the app you wish you
confirm-
did.
Well, no, I can confirm there's at least one date that has happened through our app.
Oh.
So I actually saw them in the chats, like exchange numbers
Adorable.
and then go and meet each other. So that was kind of cute. Yeah, so it's getting people outside. It's bringing, people, especially to areas where they're driving business. So we've heard a lot about businesses that will throw a lure out on one of the Pokestops that are near them.
And a Pokestop is a place you can go
Yes.
to
All
collect.
these technical terms.
I know,
Yeah.
it's really silly because you start talking and people that don't play the game, their eyes just are like, what are you talking about? But, 5 minutes playing the game, you figure it all out. It's a spot in the real world, usually a piece of art or a historical monument or just an interesting spot. And you go and in-game you'll see something that you can tap and collect loot, like more Pokeballs or potions and things you need in the game. One thing you can do is you can take a lure and attach it to, obviously all virtually, attach it to said Pokestop, and that will attract Pokemon to that physical space for 30 minutes. And when you look in the map, you can see the different Pokestops that have lures. So you then, as the player, are lured to that spot with the promise of Pokemon.
Pokemon Go 101. Thank you.
Interesting enough, the Pokevision app, or the Pokevision feature through the app, doesn't catch lured. Like
'Cause
it'll
they're
only
different.
show the ones that
'Cause-
are naturally there.
Yes, because
Oh.
lured Pokemon are different. So if you see a Pokemon on your tracker, and Pokemon Go does have a tracking feature, which is currently broken and doesn't really matter. But even if you do and you put up a lure, that same Pokemon won't spawn, won't come to the lure. Lures attract very different Pokemon. And I haven't been able to verify this. I don't know where you're getting all your wonderful Niantic information. Niantic is the company that built Pokemon. But they don't have a good PR like whoever's in
I
charge
don't
of
think
getting
they need to. They're making a couple million a day.
No, but they need somebody who's doing
Yeah.
the news releases so we know what's going on.
Well, they did do a panel at Comic-Con.
That was, yeah.
And
I
that
heard
was
about
part
that.
of it.
Very
So
helpful.
that's
I
they've
did-
talked about releasing
yeah.
trading and other things.
Yes. Well, one thing, so I was at Old Ironsides, and most of where I hang out is in that neighborhood, Southside Park area. And it's a water Pokemon wasteland. You can't find anything wet. And but it was at Old Ironsides, and there is a Pokestop of some fish. It's like a fish mural across the street. And that's what the Pokestop represents. So I was hanging out in Old Ironsides, which is a gym, and I put up a lure, and I got a ton of water Pokemon. And I was like, is this because Old Ironsides is a ancient ship themed bar, and then there's a fish? Like, do they think we're underwater now? Like, they're like, oh, there's a fish mural, and this is a boat bar. That must be water. I don't know. I'm just...
Well, it could be, and I think part of the fun of the game is trying to figure it all out, right? Trying to figure out, well, what do I have to do to, catch them all, as they say. I mean, even, I basically built an app that sometimes kind of helps you cheat, and I still don't have them all, right?
No,
it's still a process.
What kind of relationship does PokeNet have with Niantic?
None, absolutely none.
Okay.
And, we knew going in that there's always the possibility that at some point someone's going to say,
Okay.
can't do that. In fact, I wasn't even sure if we'd get the app approved by Apple, but we did, and as did a gazillion other guides and other type of apps. And I think that, it became so popular so fast that there's not really a way for them to easily squash that without
send cease and desist to
right.
everybody.
I mean, we're not doing anything that's taking away from their revenue.
Right.
If anything, anytime there's that kind of a pop culture phenomenon, all of those associated websites and fan sites and things only make it more popular. So I think it kind of works to their benefit.
So, Aaron, do you think that this is a fad, or do you think that Pokemon Go is a new part of the mobile gaming landscape and our society as a whole? Because you see them out in public. That's a tough
one. I do think it's probably a fad. I don't think that augmented reality games are a fad. So you mentioned something about zombies earlier. I could totally see there being a zombie game being played just in similar mechanisms to Pokemon Go, or other games where you have to be out in the real world, and I think that could be any time that something like this comes out and shows that it can make a ton of money, there's going to be 100 guys lining up behind to make the next big thing, the next Pokemon Go, the next. So that being said, I think it'll have some staying power.
Do you think that the next people will also capitalize on all the 90s kids' love of their childhoods? Like, are we going to see like a recess game, like the cartoon, or
Recess Go, where you just run around a virtual playground?
Yeah, and you virtually play kickball with all the kids from recess. I would play that game.
I mean, one of the things that Niantic had going for them is that they had a previous game that helped them get all of this real world data pulled together, and so they really it's going to be hard for someone else to come in. There's a lot of data here. There's a lot of geographical data and various different names of buildings and spots and things that it's no wonder the servers keep going down. Right.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. And what's next for PokeNet?
So we're, as I mentioned, we're putting in the IV calculator. But yeah, the app is free, so it's available on Android and on iPhone. Anyone can go get it. But yeah, as we learn new things, we're constantly putting in new tips, new tricks, new fun things to do. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and good luck catching them all.
Thank you much.
And that brings us to the end of this City Scout podcast. Thank you so much for listening. This was recorded in the beautiful Urban Hive, a co-working space for creatives, entrepreneurs, and people who want to make the world a better place. You can find everything we do here at City Scout at cityscoutmag.com. And while you're online, you might as well follow us on all those social media channels. Our Instagram is very lovely. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.